Here with our NBA reporter, Tim McMahon. 2/3 of the Hoop Collective podcast are here. Senior writer Brian Windhorst and Scape senior writer David Dennis Jr. is beaming in as well. We have a rule on this show, right? We try not to overreact to preseason games, but last night's preseason game in Madison Square Garden, it felt like it had some extra oomph going on. Of course, it was headlined by Karl Anthony Towns facing his former squad for the first time. The Knicks hosting the Timberwolves here, but let's not forget Donte DiVincenzo, also an important part of this deal. Julius Randle yet to make his debut here for the Timberwolves, but Donte DiVincenzo, he started off the party and reminded MSG who he is. He says, I have ice in my veins. Attacking the basket here, gets the and one. Let's take a listen to the chatter at the free throw line. And then he was talking to Rick Brunson here a little bit as well on the Knicks bench.
That's what happens when they let you run the show. That's what happens when they let you run the show.
Well.
Like that,
Oh. All in good fun until it wasn't.
Ouch. Well, this was fun. Anthony Edwards, he was putting on a show, shot 11 of 19 from the field, including 8 of 13 from beyond the arc in just 27 minutes of play. Clearly looking in midseason form already, even though it's mid-October. And then Jalen Brunson here, Tim, getting inside to the hoop plus the foul.
Yeah, the best little man paint finisher in the league right there.
Great finish through contact. He finished with 24 points. And then later in the third, Karl Anthony Towns, he says, get off me. Hits the three at the top of the key. He had 16 points and 16 rebounds. Pat and Ant exchanged jerseys after the game. But some more chatter between DiVincenzo and Rick Brunson.
You talk to me. I was talking to Tim. No, you want to bring it out here with the camera?
No drama. You don't want no drama. New York wins this one, though. Brian Windhorst, let's unpack this a little bit, please, because there was a whole lot going on there. Big deal, little deal, no deal. Where do you fall on this?
Well, look, as far as it going back and forth there, I think that was something about who may have wanted the Karl Towns trade and who may have pushed for that on the Knicks side. But let's just move that aside. I think after the game, you saw Jalen Brunson smoothing this all over, and it just reinforced to me the value of Jalen Brunson, because this guy scores, this guy passes, this guy takes a $100 million discount so the team can build its roster, and this guy smooths things over with one of his best friends. By the way, not just, so you can say guy's your friend, this guy was one of the groomsmen in Jalen's wedding 2 summers ago, and your father. He's just smoothing it over, which just totally shows how valuable Jalen Brunson is. He was breaking that up. Who knows how many other times over the last couple of years Jalen may have had to smooth stuff over with some of the Villanova former teammates that he had and his father, who's on the coaching staff.
Yeah, look, it is not the first time, and it won't be the last time, that Jalen Brunson's had to step in and kind of calm things down. He grew up as Rick Brunson's son. This is nothing new to him, but this is really a family misunderstanding. It was good fun, Donte going back and forth with Tibbs. Rick Brunson stepped in, and look, Rick Brunson has as much influence maybe as any assistant coach in the league because of the family ties, not just with his son, but with Leon Rose. And, Donte went back at him, but again, a family misunderstanding. It will be fun the next time these two teams get together.
Absolutely.
Malika, I came into this game ready to take some notes about preseason basketball, corner threes, pick and roll, perimeter defense. And then I realized the most important stat of the game is the Minnesota Timberwolves adding DAWG to that roster. Donte DiVincenzo is a dog that is necessary to add to this squad, which I've criticized for being a little bit mentally fragile in terms of playoff performances and blowing leads and not stepping up in some of these matchups. What I saw was Donte DiVincenzo coming to a preseason game and treating it like it was a playoff game, barking at the coaches, barking at the sidelines, defending like this was a playoff game. This is an immeasurable addition to the Minnesota Timberwolves, which will pay off come playoff time.
They call him the big ragu for a reason there. And one person that was very, very happy about Donte's play, one Mr. Anthony Edwards.
he motivated every night. Even when I used to play against him, like busting through screens. When he going downhill, he's going downhill. Like, so you know, he's aggressive with everything that he do. So you can't be mad at him, man. He make all the right plays, shoot the cover off the ball. I mean, I know New York gonna miss him. Every day, all day. Anytime you see me in the gym, I'm trying to get my 3-ball better. I'm trying to catch and shoot more, cut space for my teammates. You know, just play better without the ball. So, trying to do what he need me to do.
Let's get in the bonus on Anthony Edwards a little bit here. To quote his idol, Kevin Durant, he was hooping against the Knicks. He dropped 31, and his 8 threes really popped. The Wolves, remember, they were in the middle of the pack and made threes last season. And that volume from deep, it could be the next evolution for Ant. He's looking to increase his scoring average for the 5th straight season. Last year, his 25.9 points per game was a new career best. And that has odds makers putting him in that MVP conversation already. He's top 6 according to ESPN bet odds. And if he wins, he'd become the 9th player to win the award at 23 and the first since Derrick Rose. Shout out our wonderful researcher, Jason Joseph, for all of that. Tim, what did last night, though? I mean, we don't see folks take the preseason that seriously quite like this. What did it tell you?
Yeah, there's no sense of satisfaction for Anthony Edwards right now.
I can't get no. Like that.
He's still looking for it. He is not arrived. He is still ascending. And look, the last taste that Anthony Edwards had for an all-NBA season, for a season he earned a Supermax deal, the last taste was getting his butt whooped in the Western Conference Finals. He remembers that. He's motivated by that. Had a heck of a summer. Got to be on Team USA. Right. Big part of that. And be around greatness. How does KD do it? How does Steph do it? How does LeBron do it?
Right.
And he comes into this season for all he's accomplished with still a ton to prove, and he's got that mentality.
That hunger.
Yeah. He's ready to eat.
Yeah, we could talk about the offense. Yeah, we could talk about the offense and the offensive explosion and all that. But one play last night stood out to me above all, and that's Anthony Edwards lining up with Jalen Brunson, locking him down defensively, and not just locking him down defensively. As he did it, he shut him down. Brunson could not score, and Anthony Edwards was pumped like he made a stop at the end of a game 7 of the playoffs. This is a dude who is taking every possession seriously. I know we talk about how he is and the press conference and all that joking. This dude has come out of the Olympics, as Tim was saying, ready to win some basketball games. He was in Madison Square Garden in October like he was in Madison Square Garden in April. And that starts on the defensive end. And he understands that because that Towns and Gobert combo was formidable defensively. And they need to do a little bit more on the perimeter. Him and DiVincenzo are going to be terrors on that defensive side. And he showed that this is something that he's coming into this season destined to improve on.
Malika, you said earlier that we don't overreact to the preseason.
I try not to.
But the Timberwolves have the #1 offense in the preseason. And that's despite losing Karl Towns. And I think what you're seeing here is a little bit more of an even distribution the way they're going to play. More 3-pointers from Ant Edwards if he trusts that shot. 13 attempts in a preseason game is very interesting. Dante DiVincenzo had one of the highest volume 3-point shooting seasons in NBA history last year. And Naz Reid will take some of those minutes up. So I'm going to tell you, this is already one of the top 2 or 3 defensive teams in the league. If this trade actually unlocks something on offense and their new rookie, Rob Dillingham, contributes at all with scoring, this could end up being a team that's more formidable all around, and with Ant Edwards leading that offensive attack.
And the thing you have to remember about Ant Edwards, his age, his relative lack of experience, how coachable he is. He is learning on the job how to be a go-to guy on a contender. That's why I say this rocket ship's heading up.
Yeah, you want to buy stock now in this. And did you guys are like me, you keep paper calendars? If so, grab a pen, grab a calendar, mark this down. These dates, December 19th, January 17th. That's the next time that these two teams will be facing off. I got to start popping my popcorn now. Still to come on NBA Today, Joel Embiid. He's out for the preseason. Sharanya, who joins us now. Shams, what can you tell us?
Michael, I'm told that Kings cornerstone guard De'Aaron Fox is bypassing a 3-year, $165 million maximum extension before the start of the season. For Fox and his rep, Rich Paul at Clutch Sports, this is essentially a business contractual decision. When you think about next summer, he will be eligible for a 4-year, $229 million max contract, or another massive number, 5-year, $345 million max if Fox makes the All-NBA team this year. This is not a reflection on how Fox feels about the organization. I'm told he has been very engaged with Kings officials, with the team. When we think about all the key decisions that this organization has made over the last several years, including that acquisition of DeMar DeRozan this offseason, and that Kings front office, their ownership, Vivek Ranadive, they continue to strengthen that relationship with De'Aaron Fox, but he is bypassing this extension for a much larger one potentially down the line.
Of course, as we're showing here, he's coming off a season where he averaged a career high in points per game, Shams, so he is betting on himself. Thank you so very much. I do want to turn now to a developing story out of Chicago. This is huge. You reported this morning Lonzo Ball slated to make his return after being sidelined for essentially 2 years. Can you take us inside that decision?
Malika, no player in NBA history has ever successfully come back from a cartilage transplant surgery like Lonzo Ball is attempting to do now. He has undergone 3 separate surgeries on his knee since January 2022. He has not played since mid-January 2022. But yes, he is slated to make his return, his debut on Wednesday against the Timberwolves. He's also planning to play on Friday against the Cavaliers at home. I'm told the Bulls are going to be bringing him along very slowly in his return process, but this is a massive return for the league and also for Lonzo Ball. This Bulls team was 27-13 with him in the lineup that season, the last season he played basketball with the Bulls.
Yeah, I mean, this is also just, Shams, an incredible story of perseverance. We've heard at times Lonzo Ball say over the last couple of years he is going to return to basketball. So to see this come to fruition is something that I think all basketball fans can get behind. I do want to turn to some other injury news. This one out of the Eastern Conference. Joel Embiid, he's been ruled out the remainder of the postseason as he continues to manage that knee. What is Embiid and the Sixers' mindset for the preseason, going into the regular season?
What we're seeing with Joel Embiid, it's part of the new normal that we're going to see with Joel Embiid. I'm told it's going to include periodic time offs for him during the course of the season. It's going to include regular scheduled checkups for Joel Embiid throughout the course of the season. I'm told he is not worried. He is not concerned about any accolades this season. He's not concerned about the 65-game limit for the All-NBA team or MVP. He only wants to be 100% healthy for when he has not been, and that's the playoffs. And to get him there in full born and full shape, that is the ultimate concern. And what's on the mind of Joel Embiid and the Sixers, from his shape, from his weight, from his conditioning, they want to make sure he's all systems go when the playoffs start. And this is going to be a part of the new normal we see with Joel Embiid.
And that includes him not playing in the preseason. Please stick around, Shams, because this is being managed ahead of the season. It's not something new for the 76ers star, but the numbers explain why planning is important here. If, Mr. Matt Sellers, we could show our viewers this, please. When you include the postseason, Embiid has missed 376 career games, which comes out to actually missing 43% of every possible game, which is pretty astounding when you add it all up. And no one knows this better than our Tim Bontemps, the boots on the ground in Philadelphia. I'd like to bring him into this conversation, as well as our senior reporter, Brian Windhorst. But Tim, you talked to Embiid, and he told you that, quote, he would probably never play back-to-backs the rest of his career. So can you just explain how he came to that specific decision?
Well, Malika, as Shams said, this is the new normal for the Sixers and Joel Embiid, as they are solely focused on trying to get him through the season healthy, get him to April, May, and June, and be able to be on the court full go in the playoffs, which he has repeatedly said throughout his career is the one thing he would like to do. And to get there, they're going to do a lot of different things. As you mentioned, they're not going to have him play in hardly any back-to-backs. He obviously has always got a bit of a tongue-in-cheek when he's talking about anything, and he did tell me that if they're, say, playing the Celtics and Knicks in back-to-back games, he's going to want to be out there. But this is entirely about being smart with both he and Paul George to get them to the end of the road, get them to the playoffs healthy, and be ready to go. Embiid's going to continue to wear a brace on that left knee. As anybody who's ever watched him has seen, if he's got either a face mask or a brace on, he's constantly messing with it, trying to take it off. He said he's resigned himself to the fact he's going to have to wear that brace. He said it might not look quite as pretty as it has before, but it's going to be just as effective. And as Shams also mentioned, he's specifically looking at Tim Duncan and the weight he dropped in the second half of his career as somebody to model himself after as he tries to take pressure off of his knees and have him be able to be the dominant player he's been through his 20s into his early to mid 30s. And that's why he's already dropped 25 to 30 pounds. And Embiid has told me he hopes to lose more. And this is all geared towards him being on a plan much like the one Kawhi Leonard was on in 2018-19 with the Toronto Raptors. Obviously, he played 60 games that year, didn't play a single back-to-back, was then available to play all 24 playoff games, played 40 minutes a game, led Toronto to a title. And Malika, if the Sixers could do that with Nick Nurse coaching, with Joel Embiid playing this year, things are going to look awfully good for the 76ers.
Right. Nick Nurse did that, of course, with Kawhi Leonard, and then Nick Nurse is attempting to do this now with Joel Embiid. And I was in Philadelphia for 76ers Media Day, and the word that Joel kept using with me is he kind of wants to spread the wealth a little bit. He wants to delegate, is what he said. He believes he has a team around him now, or he can look at some of these other guys and get through the regular season without him necessarily having to play every single one. But you mentioned that Toronto Raptors team, and I got to tell you, Brian, what I think toward is in that year, a little bit of luck broke their way as well. They were not facing a fully healthy Golden State Warriors squad in the finals. And I would say the Celtics team is one of the more formidable teams we've seen since that Golden State roster. I have the Sixers in that upper tier in the East behind the Celtics, certainly right in that mix though. But this could be pivotal, right? Two of their top three players not expected to play in many, if any, back-to-backs. How concerned do you think fans should be here, Brian?
Yeah, I think they're doing the right thing because one of the most important things over the entire Eastern Conference this year is how is Joel Embiid feeling April 15th? You're going to hear myself and Bontemps and other people say that throughout the season. That's great. He's won 7 straight games and he's averaging 30 and 15. How is he going to feel on April 15th? So they're trying to protect themselves. Andre Drummond, this is not something you would normally hear. Andre Drummond heard from Joel Embiid. Now, Andre Drummond is sort of a backup player, but he was actively recruited by Joel Embiid because Embiid knew this is the way he was going. They needed a guy who they wouldn't have a problem starting 20 or 30 or maybe even 40 games as his backup. But Philly is going to deploy some lineups this year that are not going to be that strong. And they're going to potentially have some back-to-backs where they're going to have to pick and choose. In fact, they've got a back-to-back in the second week of November where one game is an NBA Cup game and the other game is a game against the Cavs, a team they could face in the playoffs. I'm sure they're going to have to prioritize the NBA Cup game. So they're going to have some decisions like that, but ultimately they've got to play the long game here. They feel like they've built a roster to play the long game. And the one thing I would take away from this, if you're a fantasy team owner, maybe get Tyrese Maxey, because on those nights when Paul George and Joel Embiid are sitting, it's going to be go time for their star point guard.
Right, you're going to be taking it to the max. It's going to be the Maxey show. But I can believe one thing, Brian, you can believe another. Shams, ultimately, it's the Sixers' belief that matters. What gives them the belief that this is the best path forward?
The Sixers and Embiid, they look at this roster and you go out and get Paul George, you get Tyrese Maxey. They are confident that those two guys can lead this roster after you got Andre Drummond. You've made some additions, Eric Gordon, others in the offseason. Also getting the Caleb Martins and Gershon Yabuselis of the world in the offseason, really supplementing your star player in Joel Embiid. They feel like those two players can lead that group over the regular season to get to the point where Joel Embiid can finally have that fully healthy postseason that we have not seen yet from him.
What's that saying that we used to hear a whole lot in Philadelphia? It's all about how the plane lands on April 15th. They are trying to land that plane, and they want to do it against the Boston Celtics. Speaking of, let's go coast to coast with some of the best action of the weekend. We're going to start, my friends, with the champs. They have kept right on rolling. Big wheels keep on turning. They are winning preseason games by an average of 21 points so far. Tim Bontemps, you've been around this team the last couple of days. I'm not sensing any championship hangover. Are you?
No, not at all, Malik. I was at the games both Saturday and Sunday against the back half of Philly's roster and against Toronto on Sunday. And yeah, my feeling coming away from those games is the Celtics are locked in and ready to go for the start of the season. Joe Mazzulla got them going right at the start of training camp, didn't want any sort of championship hangover, and they look more than ready to go to start next week against the New York Knicks in their ring ceremony a week from now.
Sticking in the East, Jimmy Butler, he answered questions regarding his looming contract extension. Here's what he had to say.
I mean, if we're very brutally honest, no matter what, nothing I do now is going to get me paid any more money, even though I don't care about the money. I mean, all NBA, none of that's going to matter. I'm at a point right now, I got more than enough money. I'm just here to win.
Brian Windhorst, what are your thoughts on what we just heard from Jimmy?
Jimmy Butler cares about money, but it's just not the most important thing. And what I think he does care about is he's been challenged. He's been challenged by Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra basically to bring it this year if you want to get paid. But with Jimmy Butler, he does believe he's got one big contract left in him. And he's also got an opt-out in his contract. And if it's not just playing for the Heat, he's also going to be auditioning for other teams this year, highly incentivized to have a great season.
Let's head to New Orleans. Zion Williamson has played in both preseason games, scoring 13 and 17 minutes of action last night. Tim Bontemps, it seems as though they're going to roll with Daniel Tice starting at center. Is that the right decision?
Malik, I think the Pelicans could have the most interesting lineup in the league this year, and that does not include Daniel Tice. I would love to see them have Zion Williamson at center with Brandon Ingram, Trey Murphy when he's healthy, Herb Jones, and DeJounte Murray. Let's see him run that five out there, have Zion at center, play really fast, try to be the best offensive team in the league. I'd like to see that over Daniel Tice. We'll see which way the Pelicans go when the season starts next week.
Let's check in on Nuggets superstar Nikola Jokic, who brought out the Hart Trophy for the 2024 MVP Nathan McKinnon. He might be the tallest person on the ice since, Manute Bol. Jokic is actually tied with Luka for the shortest odds to win MVP this season. Could we see Jokic win a fourth, do you think, Brian?
Yeah, I think, he's going to need a big production season. We've already now seen Jamal Murray have some issues with his knee bothering him in the preseason. He was pulled out of the game last night. So Jokic is going to need a big year for the Nuggets. If he does that, could be another MVP.
Outside of the preseason, Dallas Mavericks, they have been without Luka Doncic this preseason. What's the plan for when we will see Doncic first here, Tim?
You will not see him tonight when all those toilets are flushing in the new Intuit Dome. You might see him Thursday against the Bucks, which is the quote-unquote dress rehearsal, preseason finale for the Mavericks. You will certainly see him for the regular season opener, the 24th against the San Antonio Spurs. He's progressing, no concern whatsoever about whether he'll be ready to roll when the games start to count.
And that is when it matters. Luka Doncic should be good to go to start the regular season here. Moments ago, though, LeBron James, he spoke at the Lakers practice ahead of heading out on their final preseason road trip here. Let's take a listen to LeBron.
It was everything and more. I was super excited to be able to finally team up with him, in a win or die type atmosphere, and that's what it was. Being a part of Olympics, and it was everything that I dreamed of and inspired to want to be a part of that team along with Steph. Great memories, something I remember from my basketball career for the rest of my life for sure.
And the circumstances of you with the Lakers and with the Warriors, do you think, could it ever happen again?
What?
You guys be teammates?
Oh, I have no idea.
All right, so that was LeBron James moments ago being asked by our Dave McMenamin about playing with Steph Curry in the Olympics. Mr. Windhorst, you were with this team in Paris. What do you make of what we just heard from LeBron?
Well, they're going to Phoenix to play an exhibition game tomorrow. That's why he's being asked about playing with Durant. He also played with Devin Booker. He was extremely successful alongside Devin Booker. LeBron has signed a 3-year contract with a no-trade clause. So keep that in mind. Also keep in mind the Warriors tried to trade for him last year, and he just spent a summer thriving alongside Steph Curry and playing for Steve Kerr. So he said, I have no idea. If you want to say he said the word no, I guess, but that's one of those things that people will always talk about, certainly if the Lakers have any troubles this season.
Yeah, they play the Warriors on this road trip and the Suns on this road trip. So that's why all this is coming up again, David.
Yeah, if we know one thing about LeBron James is he's never going to put this to rest. He's going to enjoy all the talk, all the hubbub, all the social media partnerships, and all the high fives that they did. And it's going to feed into the noise if for nothing else, to keep the LA Lakers front office on their toes, but also feed into, the excitement about it. I was excited about seeing Steph and LeBron in the Olympics. I was hoping that we could see more of that. And I think the guys really, truly, genuinely enjoyed that time together, whether they will have it again or not.
Yeah, never say never. Don't get your hopes up of seeing these guys team up in the NBA. Enjoy those moments in Paris, though, like we all know Wendy did, the man of the people, the international man of mystery.
Yeah, the international man of mystery. It was fun for all of us fans to be able to see LeBron James, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant on the floor. But I think as we were watching it unfold in real time, all of us sort of had the feeling, all right, we need to hold on to this because I'm not sure how much more of this we're going to be seeing on the floor at all, let alone on the same team. That's going to do it for us here on NBA Today, the final week of
Hello, Steph Curry has officially lost his title as the NBA's best point guard. A recent survey of 30 general managers from around the league showed that both Luka Doncic and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander have surpassed the Golden State Warriors star in the rankings at that position. This survey is not a simple collection of opinions from social media or casual analysts. These are the league's top executives, the same ones who, for 9 consecutive seasons, unanimously named Curry the best point guard. So this change is very significant. But should Warriors fans be concerned about Curry's drop in the rankings? The answer is, not necessarily. The same survey named him the best pure shooter in the NBA, and also the most efficient player in movement off the ball, an indisputable trait. In addition, he was considered the league's best leader by a plurality of GM votes, and for the second year in a row, he was named the player executives would trust most in crunch time. To top it all off, Curry was just a few votes behind Doncic in the category of most difficult player to create defensive strategies against. At 36, it's natural that he no longer has the same physical explosiveness in isolation situations. However, his ability to attract the attention of opposing defenses remains the same. As long as he's on the court, defenders will continue to be glued to him. When Curry gets into a rhythm, he's still as unstoppable as any player in NBA history, something he recently proved during the Olympics. As Curry himself said in a recent interview, one day the ball will stop bouncing, but for now, it continues to fall through the rim. Thanks for watching, leave your comment below and be sure to subscribe to stay up to date with all the news, hugs, and until next time.